We're seeing poetry by Palestinian authors win the National Book Award, and novels win prizes some of their authors can actually accept. With this rich outpouring of Palestinian voices, I'm honored to share this virtual space today with fiction writer Yara El-Ghadban. Yara was born in 1976 in Dubai to Palestinian refugee parents. She lived successively in exile in Buenos Aires, Beirut, Damascus, and Sana'a until her family moved to Montreal in 1989. After studying anthropology and music at the Université de Montréal, she taught at that university and the University of Ottawa. El-Ghadban has won many awards for her novels. She's the author of L'ombre de l'olivier, Le parfum de Noor, Je suis Ariel Sharon, whose English translation is I am Ariel Sharon. It's the only one of her work that I know of that is available in English. And more recently, La Danse des Flamants Roses. She collaborated with Rodney Eloy on the essay Les racistes n'ont jamais vu la mer. Bienvenue, Yara.
Thank you, Lisa.
And welcome to San Giorgi 2025.
Happy to be here.
So I will read a portion of the novel I'm translating, The Shadow of the Olive Tree, and then I'll ask Yara to read it in French. In the novel, 10-year-old Yur confides her dreams and her deepest fears to Bird, a creature only she can see. It's 1982, and Yur and her extended family of grandmother, Helwe, grandfather, Jidou, aunts, uncles, cousins, mother, father, and brother arrive in Lebanon, only to be displaced again by Israel's invasion. Death is a giant centipede, centipedes with 1,000 arms, carrying 1,000 weapons. Centipedes with 1,000 eyes that crawl through the streets, target a head, a heart that beats loudly like my cousin Wefek's. Centipedes that howl from 1,000 loudspeakers. If you want to live, show white sheets on balconies. The soldiers on centipedes speak poor Arabic, but the language of fear is universal, Bird. Everyone understands it, even me. Everyone abandons the camp, our refuge, our beautiful Burj El Barashne. All the people I love are escaping to Tera's new apartment, and I see my aunt Siam running from room to room. She's ransacking dresser drawers. A white sheet, Yama, quick. Tanks are in the street. Soldiers are coming. Where can one find white sheets in a bloodbath? Where do you want me to find white sheets in this apartment? Everything is back in the camp. Bird, I was taught in school that necessity is the mother of invention. My science teacher was wrong. It's fear. Fear is the mother of invention. Yukufia, Yaba, father, your white scarf so they can see it. No, never. It's a disgrace. Teta does it for him so he doesn't have to. She takes off her white shawl, the crown that surrounds her face with jasmine petals. She takes it off, and Jidou watches her do it, helpless. The centipedes roam in front of the balconies, spying on every pale face, trembling lip, every woman waving her scarf, nightgown panties, white sheet, every child staring through the bars, every angry young man, every father humiliated in front of his wife and children. Honor before land, shouted the men on the day of the catastrophe. Let's save the women and children first. Villages disappeared under bulldozers. Women lay naked where militias had passed by. Honor before land, we will come back to drive them out of our villages. First, let's save the women and children. Look at us, bird. Look at what we've become. Exiles, refugees. The baby cradled all the way to the border became my dad. Look at us. 1, 2, 3 generations later. Neither honor nor land. Nobody wants us. You see, Yahweh, they tracked us here. The Israelis came all the way back to Lebanon to uproot us again. Shidot's last words. His eyes follow the advance of the giant centipedes. He leaves everyone frozen on the balcony, hypnotized by the spectacle of the monstrous raptor dousing the camp with fire, decapitating the houses, snatching the corpses with its claws. Did Shidot leave to confront the soldiers? Is he looking for the honor he lost? Does he want to go back to the camp? Who knows? He descends 1 floor, 2, and his broken heart lets go. He calls for help. No one answers. He crawls to the neighbor's door, knocks, but no one opens. Shidot left. Nobody noticed. He died there on a flight of stairs in a dark corridor without electricity. June 6, 1982. And Yara, if you have the French, maybe you could read that same excerpt.
I'd love to. Thank you, Lisa. La mort est un 1000 pattes géant. Des 1000 pattes à 1000 bras qui portent 1000 armes. Des 1000 pattes à 1000 yeux qui rampent dans les rues, ciblent une tête, un cœur qui bat fort comme celui de mon cousin Wafi. Des 1000 pattes qui hurlent de 1000 haut-parleurs. Pour vivre, montrez drap blanc sur balcon. Ils parlent mal l'arabe, les soldats montés sur les 1000 pattes. Mais la langue de la peur est universelle, oiseau. Tout le monde la comprend, même moi. Ils abandonnent le camp, notre refuge, notre beau Burj el Barajneh. Tous les gens que j'aime fuient dans l'appartement neuf de Teta. Et je vois ma tante Siham qui court d'une chambre à l'autre. Elle saccage les tiroirs. Un drap blanc, Yamma. Vite! Les tanks sont dans notre rue. Des soldats arrivent. Où trouver des draps blancs dans une tempête de sang? Où veux-tu que je trouve des draps blancs dans un appartement? Tout est resté dans le camp. On m'a appris à l'école, oiseau, que la nécessité est la mère de l'invention. Elle s'est trompée, la professeure de sciences. C'est la peur, la mère de l'invention. Ton koufi est yaba. Perds ton foulard blanc pour qu'il le voie. Non, jamais. C'est une honte. Teta le fait alors à sa place. Elle enlève son châle blanc, sa couronne, celle qui lui entoure le visage de pétales de jasmin. Elle l'enlève et Shidot la regarde faire, impuissant. Les 1000 pattes maraudent devant le balcon, épient chaque visage blême. lèvres tremblotantes, chaque femme qui agite son foulard, sa chemise de nuit, sa petite culotte, son drap blanc, chaque enfant qui les fixe à travers les barreaux, chaque jeune homme en colère, chaque père humilié devant son épouse et ses enfants. L'honneur avant la terre, criaient les hommes, le jour de la catastrophe. Sauvons d'abord les femmes et les enfants. Les villages disparaissaient sous les bulldozers. Des femmes gisaient nues là où les milices étaient passées. L'honneur avant la terre. Nous reviendrons pour les chasser de nos villages. Sauvons d'abord les femmes et les enfants. Nous voilà exilés, oiseaux. Nous voilà réfugiés. Le bébé percé jusqu'à la frontière est devenu mon papa. Nous voilà, 1, 2, 3 générations plus tard, sans honneur, sans terre. Personne ne veut de nous. Tu vois, ya Helwe, ils nous ont traqués jusqu'ici. Les Israéliens sont venus jusqu'au Liban pour nous déraciner de nouveau. Les derniers mots de Gitto. Il les dit en suivant des yeux l'avance des 1000 pattes géants. Il part alors que tout reste vigé, tout se reste figé au balcon, hypnotisé par le spectacle de l'oiseau monstre qui éclabousse le camp de feu, décapite les maisons, rafle les cadavres. Va-t-il confronter les soldats? Cherche-t-il l'honneur perdu? Veut-il rentrer au camp? Qui sait? Il descend un étage, deux, et son cœur brisé le lâche. Il appelle au secours. Personne ne répond. Il se traîne jusqu'à la porte du voisin, frappe, mais personne n'ouvre. Jiddo s'en va, personne ne s'en rencontre. Il meurt là, sur une marche d'escalier, dans un couloir sombre, sans électricité.
Merci, Yara.
Un pleasure.
So this novel, which we're calling The Shadow of the Olive Tree, begins with lines from the poet Mahmoud Darwish from his poem Mural. One day I'll become a bird and from my nothingness create a life. Every time my wings burn, I approach the truth and rise from the ashes. I am the dialogue of dreamers. I gave up my body and soul to make my first journey towards meaning, but it consumed me and disappeared. I am that absence. I am the heavenly hunted. One day I'll become what I want. So your has an invisible companion in the novel called Bird.
Mhm.
I wonder if you could talk about that relationship and just your choice to tell this story from the point of view of a 10-year-old child.
Yeah, so that poem, so you can see the correspondence with the bird from Mahmoud Darwish's poem, which is actually not any kind of bird. It's a phoenix. So the idea of rising from the ashes. And this is something that, for me, reflects very much the Palestinian experience. Every time you think that there's no hope, we rise from the ashes. And I wanted to tell the story. I wanted to write, I wanted to write a novel as a homage for my family, for what they've been through and what they've transmitted to me. And I wanted to write it for my children as a way to record the history of our family. And so it was important for me that it would be the voice of a child, because the child is innocent and the child doesn't understand the evilness in the world. And since she's 10 years old, I had a very practical problem, is that she cannot know everything, really. So then Bird becomes this voice of wisdom, this creature that has access to all the things, all the answers, all the questions that she is too young actually to understand or to absorb. Also, in a way, it's because the family, the people in her life, the adults in her life who love her, who surround her with love, also want to protect her. And so they don't necessarily give her the answers that she's looking for. And so she invents them. She invents them through the bird. So for me, it was wonderful because it helped me give maybe your wisdom beyond her years. But also with the bird, it opens all sorts of possibilities that the violence of war takes away from Uriur's life. So that was the idea of the dialogue with the bird.
Mm. And telling it from a child's, just as this reader was very charmed by the innocence, a child, sees things with a very fresh and honest eye. So I want to reiterate what I said during the introduction, that your family lived in Buenos Aires, in Beirut, in Damascus, and Sana'a before finally settling in Montreal. So deportation, displacement, and exile. These are all, sadly, very much in the news these days. And at the end of the novel, Uriur's parents announce that they are being deported. They have to leave Dubai for Yemen. And so I wonder if you could talk a bit more about that idea of forced migration.
I mean, it's part of my own experience. I think I only started traveling freely and willingly when I had my Canadian passport, when I was in my late teens. But my whole experience through childhood was forced displacement. I had no notion of something like tourism or traveling for pleasure, or so the experience of travel was always very traumatizing to me. And my experience of travel was always being set aside in the airport and having someone, take away our papers, and seeing the stress on my parents' faces and not knowing if we were going to get through, not get through, and all of that. And even at the end of the novel, which is actually based on my real experience, even when we were being deported from Dubai, I was separated from my family because there was some glitch in my deportation papers. So I was 11 years old, and my parents had to leave without me. And I had to then stay in Dubai by myself. But I had an uncle. And then I had to travel on my own by plane. So this stays with you, in a way. And so I wanted it's part of every Palestinian's life. I mean, there are two experiences in Palestinian life. It's the experience of forced on this mobility and of forced imprisonment, which is the checkpoints and the barriers where you cannot move. And then there's the opposite experience, which is forced movement and displacement, and where you have no choice but to be pushed around from one place to another. So I grew up with that experience, and it shaped who I am and the way I write. And and I wanted to. I did not. I wanted it to. I wanted the novel to end with another departure, because that's what it was. It was a departure. It was what we say in French, deuil. Leaving behind my childhood, leaving behind the only place I really knew. But then it was also a departure to new things that I did not know were waiting for me. So yeah, this was I could not end it with something closed and with a neat knot, because that's not what Palestinian life is about.
Well, and I have to ask you, you're fluent in how many languages? Obviously English.
Yeah. Even though haven't been speaking it much lately, so sorry for the heavy tongue, but yeah, I mean, I'm trilingual, like many Palestinians, and I can understand a bit of German, some Haitian Creole, and I learned Spanish when I was in Argentina, but of course there isn't much left of it right now, so I don't really count it anymore. But it's somewhere in the back of my mind. But
Yeah.
I would consider myself trilingual.
So I think people will be anxious to know what you're working on these days. And also, just talk about your other work and how the shadow of the olive tree relates to it.
I mean, since The Shadow of the Olive Tree, I wrote three other novels. Le Parfum de Nour, Je suis Ariel Sharon, which, like you said, was the only one up to now, is the only one up to now, which has been translated into English, Arabic, and German. And then I wrote La Danse des Flamants Roses, which is my most recent novel, which is, believe it or not, a utopian novel that happens in Palestine, in the Valley of the Dead Sea. So my work has always been about the Palestinian experience. That's the theme that is always there and recurrent. But I try to explore it through different perspectives, through the intimate lives of Palestinian women, men, families, children. Um, I like to write about love, and there's always some magic in my books. It's a way of maybe countering the violence of the Palestinian experience. Um, and right now I'm working on a fifth novel already, which I can only say is set in 1920s Jerusalem.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you're still writing within that theme. But
I mean, I have no choice, I mean, I wish I could write, a novel that happens in a cafe in Montreal. I mean, that would be my dream come true, but I can't, because, the history of Palestinians, the Palestinian experience, Palestinian life is being erased in every single way you can imagine. Our bodies are being erased, our memories are being erased, our monuments are being erased, even the food we eat is being erased. So the only thing I can do is write, keep writing, to leave a trace somehow. But maybe one day I'll get a chance to write about something else, but I don't think I have the choice right now. And I can't write anything else anyway right now. It's what I'm living 24 hours a day.
yes, exactly. I think that's a good place probably to end. Um, and can't thank you enough for sharing this with us.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for your translation. It's wonderful to hear oneself in another language.